Hi, welcome to Urban Fireside. I'm Kaya Van Zandt. So, one of the functions of the old myths that we have, in every culture all around the world was to really teach us about being human, the confusing parts of it. You see it in children. My son is 3, and whenever he hurts himself, whenever he gets a scratch or something, falls down, there's this total shock, like, how could this happen? And the myths of yore had this feeling of like understanding that, so for some of us, our spirits have a tough time growing down into the world and actually living here and dealing with heartbreak and physical pain and the suffering and the challenges of this life. And a lot of these stories spoke to us individually, stories for women, stories for men. So today I'm going to share with you one of the stories for women. It's really powerful. And as it was told to me, I hadn't considered this framing of the story before, although I was familiar with the story. This is the story of Parvati and Durga, which comes out of the Hindu tradition, thousands of years old. And about 10 years ago now, I was on a red-eye flight from London to Athens, my first time in Greece. And you have to pay attention on the plane, right, to who you're sitting next to, because it sometimes is a divine assignment, when you get those assigned seats and you look over at the person sitting next to you, it's like, oh yeah, we were put together for a reason. So the person sitting next to me was a professor of Indian cultural studies from Oxford University, and he was on his way to go meet his family in Greece for holiday. And he had this delight in his eyes, just an amazingly alive spirit. Now, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. We were at the red-eye flight, right, to Athens. So, here he is looking so alive. So we started talking. We struck up a conversation, and he said, do you know the story of Parvati and Durga? Because it is the quintessential story for women, and they do not understand it, And I was like, lay it on me. I've got to hear this story. So for the remainder of our flight, it was really exciting because he shared this story with me and shared it from the perspective of his professorship, but also his human perspective on the story, which was so significant. So if you don't know the story, or even if you do, I'm sure you want to hear it again. It's such a great story. Parvati, in the Hindu tradition, she's like the mother of all gods. She's all things mother. She's pure love, pure grace, pure inspired, beautiful spirit. And she's known for her compassion. She is the wife of Shiva in many of the legends, and her powers are considered really highly regarded by all of the gods in that pantheon. So in this story, as often happens in many of these stories and myths all around the world, there's a monster troubling the land. And the monster is having a great deal of success, as these monsters often do. He's troubling the land and taking over villages and burning villages and ransacking homes and taking women and, things that monsters do. They cause mischief and trouble for us all. So the gods all got together and had a meeting and said, what are we going to do about this monster? And one of the gods said, I have an idea. We'll infuse all of our power, all of our collective power together into Parvati, and she can deal with the monster. So this is exactly what they did in the story. They, big lightning bolts and thunder, I'm sure, and all of the big, fabulous drama of it, dramatics, and they infuse their power into Parvati. And Parvati undergoes a radical and sudden change in her nature, at her core. She goes from being, goddess of compassion to being Durga. Durga is another goddess that grows out of her, that she becomes, who is the warrior goddess, who carries the sword of truth, who rides into battle on the back of the tiger to do battle with the monster, right? So Parvati, whoosh, in a flash of light becomes Durga, takes up her sword, mounts her tiger, rides into battle, and has it off with this monster, the slew of monsters, whatever was troubling the villages and the people. And she's successful. She beheads the monsters, which is often the case in these stories. It's interesting that the sword of truth that she carries, right, goes after the throat chakra of the monsters, takes care of the fact that they can't speak anymore. They can't do their evil with the seeds of words and language that evil often travels in, right? Evil often travels in information, false information, right? So when she's completed her task, whoosh, the genie, aspect of her transformation comes into play, and suddenly, poof, she's Parvati again. And as Parvati, she's restored to herself, but with all of the empowerment of the elements of Durga. And as the professor was telling me this story, he said, this is not a story for men, because for men, we simply were born and we just get bigger, and we get bigger and we're still ourselves, and we go on getting bigger and then, we're grown and we're still the same, and then we die. And that is, we have this arc of being a man that is, everything is very consistent for us. But for women, it is a life based in change, especially within the physical body, right? So you're born, you come of age, you come into puberty suddenly, the body changes, you grow breasts and your hips fill out, and there's this change. And then if you decide to become a mother, your entire abdomen swells out and you have this baby moving inside you, and you have all these strange stresses and hormonal shifts of pregnancy. It's all just gone wild. And and then eventually you grow to be an old woman and you lose your menses, and you go into the phase of life which is without the childbearing years, and it is just constant change. There's no opportunity practically given to you to adapt to the constant shifting circumstances of having a human body. And he said also, there's this piece to it where he said, my wife, she is Parvati and she is Durga, and in moments where she must speak her truth, she comes out and says, this is how I feel about it. And then later on, she has regret and remorse. Maybe she's worried about, how did it come out? Was that okay? And he said, this is the transformation of Parvati into Durga, Durga back into Parvati, where there's this identity shock around, oh my God, who just said that? What did I say? What did I do? No, it wasn't me. I couldn't have done that. We've all had those moments, right? Where we look back on our actions and just go, oh my God, was that really what I did? However, especially when we've done it for the sake of truth, for sharing our feelings, for sharing our truth, now is the moment in our lives individually as women, and also in our evolution as a species for humanity, that we've got to speak our truth. We have got to mount our tigers and raise our swords and ride into battle for the sake of truth, because the life of our entire planet is at stake. Are we going to be willing to stand by and say, oh, it's fine if the chemical companies want to poison our world, we'll just be silent and go shopping? That's not who we want to be in this life. It's time to take that transformation, especially in speaking as women, right? From that place where we're a little complicit, we're a little gosh, I don't want to rock the boat. It's that pleaser element of us that's oh, I don't want to be seen as the bitch who, makes a fuss. I just want everything to go easy, right? That's Parvati. She's compassion, she's love, she's grace. She wants everything to flow along. She wants it to be easy for you. She wants to be loved. She wants to share love, give love. And it's a very important element of our hearts. And then on the other side, the transformation that needs to take place when there's a monster. And who's the monster? What's the monster? Well, the monster is all around us. It's the lies being told to us in our media. It's the lies of the chemical companies. It's the lies of the nuclear power plants. I mean, reading today that the Japanese power plant at Fukushima wants to just dump all the radioactive water into the ocean, saying it's not that radioactive anyway. I mean, really? This is our media telling us that we can just poison the world and it'll be fine. So it's up to us individually to rise up with the sword of Durga and say we won't stand for it. We stand for life, because that's what Durga rides for, right? We stand for life. We ride for life. We conquer the monsters. And it's easy also to think of the monsters as outside of us, as in the world. We see them everywhere, right? The corruption, the greed, the apathy of the sociopaths who run our society. But the monsters are sometimes also inside of us, right? They're the voice that says, maybe I'm too old for that dream, or maybe I'm the self-doubt voices of like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if that's for me. The thing you really want. The voices inside of us that would shut us down, make us feel small, belittle us, try to convince us that we're not good enough, or that we'll be making a fool of if we go for our dreams. Whatever those voices are for you, the paradigms of our consciousness that we've often inherited from our parents, from past generations, from our culture, we need to ride as Durga against those inner monsters as well with the sword of truth, and stand and say, I am the child of the universe. I am the child of the one great mystery that brought me into this life, that continues to sustain my life, and that will take me to who knows where when I'm done with this life. But I am the child of that force that is breathing me. That is the most powerful force that there is, the force of life. And to ride with the spirit of that truth, it's time to ride for life. So I had that amazing journey with him when we arrived at Athens at 3 in the morning and set our departures. We gave each other a huge hug. And I never forgot his story of Parvati and Durga, and how he felt that it was a teaching for us as women on how to live in our bodies and have the confidence to make the transformation, right? We are among the beings in the world that make these kinds of transformations. The caterpillar, the tadpole, even the trees, come every winter, the trees, many of them just drop all their leaves, right? And then in spring, they leaf them out again. This is part of the cycles. The women are part of the cycles, and we can get nervous about participating in all of that change. But it's really up to us to own it, embrace it, and familiarize ourselves and get grounded within the change. That's the challenge. So I hope you enjoyed our little story today, and there'll be more for you on Urban Fireside. You can visit more at urbanfireside.com. I'm working on getting the website up right now. It'll be up soon. So I hope you will come and join the mailing list and subscribe to these videos, because there's a lot more coming. Thanks so much.